All right. I actually got an extra monitor this week, so now I have everything set up just the way I wanted, which is great.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. So it's just going live, and as soon as it's connected, just because there's a couple of people that actually sometimes join on live, which is great.
Yes. Mhm.
All right, and I can see the screen on it as well. That's awesome. Thank you so much for everybody for joining. If you see my neck moving around, it's just because I've got a new screen. And so it's, I'm trying to figure it out, but thank you so much for joining. Yesterday, for those of you who joined us or watched us online, we talked about fear and love and how only one of those emotions can actually stay to at one time. And so fear actually holds us back from achieving what we want, whereas love will move us forward. And today we're going to talk about a concept called Ikigai. And I know it's a tough word to spell, but I promise you by the end of today, you will know how to pronounce it, and you will also know what it means and why we've been talking about all the different things over the last 6 days. Congratulations for making it to day 7, first week down, and we have 2 more weeks to go after that. This is going to be really, really exciting. So let's move forward and define Ikigai. So Ikigai is actually a Japanese word, and there's a really easy way to pronounce it, right? Ikigai. Think of a guy who's really messy, Ikigai, right? That's what it is. That's how easy it is. Ikigai, and that's all you need to remember. Now, this is a Japanese concept that combines the term iki, which means alive or life, and gai, which means benefit or worth. So when you combine these two words together, it gives you your life worth, your meaning, your purpose. So Ikigai, for those of us that sort of speak French, is the same as raison d'être. What is your reason for being, right? So that's what Ikigai is. It really translates into what is your reason to being? What is your reason that you get out of bed every morning? And really what it does is it strives to create a balance in your spiritual and practical life, right? Remember, we talked about mind, body, spirit balance and how emotions impact it. Well, today we're going to dig deeper into all of that, right? So when the balance is found between the intersection of where your passion is, where your talents converge, when the things that the world needs, plus you love doing and get paid for it, that intersection becomes your ikigai. Now, um, the Japanese island Okinawa, where Ikigai has its origins, is said to be the home of the largest populations of centenarians in the world. What I mean by that is that the people on the island of Okinawa have the highest population for those that are 100 years old and older. That's amazing, right? If you're able to live a healthy life at that point, there is actually inner peace within yourself, right? So why is the concept of Ikigai so important, right? And really, when we look at it, it impacts all of it. The concept of Ikigai is seem to have evolved from the basic premises of good health and well-being, right? So when we look at that principle and we sort of build out a chart out of it, our mental health, our emotional health, our purpose in life, and our physical well-being is all related. So when your mental health, your emotional health, and your purpose in life is all aligned, then you will be a physical well-being. And that's why they have the highest number of people that are over the age of 100, because there is an alignment and a balance in all of this. So what is it that Ikigai has to do? How do you achieve that Ikigai? To be honest, the concept is really, really, really simple. The concept of Ikigai is a purpose in life with both your personal and your social dimensions, right? So the first thing that we need to look at is, what is it that you love? Now, this sphere sort of includes what we do or experience that brings us inner joy, that brings us fulfillment, that keeps us alive, right? Whether it's writing or whether it's poetry or whether it's painting or whether it's doing what I'm doing right now, sharing my knowledge with people and making sure that they don't go through the tribulations and setbacks that I did because my alignment was off, right? The second thing is, what are you good at? We're all good at something. We sometimes have a difficult time acknowledging it, but we all have skill sets, right? So what are those skill sets that we need, right? It's things that you've learned, it's hobbies, and it may be something you started at a very young age, right? You may be good at playing the piano. You may be good at public speaking. You may be good at brain surgery. I know some of us online are good at painting, right? So this aspect of it includes all talents and capabilities. Whether you're passionate about them, whether you want to get paid for it or not, is not important at this point. Even if the world needs this, is not important. What is it is you need to identify what are you good at. Then we move on to what the world needs. And now here, the whole of humanity could be the case, or it could be the city that you live in, or even just the community that you live in. Any one of these, right? So you could be a skilled nurse. You could be someone who helps with clean water. You could be somebody who just, goes out and cleans the yard. You could be a volunteer thing. It's a simple thing, what the world needs. So what and how are you benefiting somebody else? Now, this is where we all struggle with, is the last one. What can you get paid for, right? This dimension refers to sort of the society at large, but it also responds to you. Now, remember, money is also energy. So if we look at money as energy, then we starting looking at it as I need more, I need to charge more, because it is an exchange. And so what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs is exchange for the money that you're getting in. So when we put all of those four things together, this diagram will sort of explain it to you, right? What you love, what you're great at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. That center green dot is where the Ikigai resides. And that's the sweet point that we want to find. Now, the challenge resides that we're either good in one or the other, or even worse is we end up focusing on one area or the other, right? Most of us, it's like, I need to get paid. And we do, because unfortunately or fortunately, money is the transaction of us being able to live our lives. But when you start saying, I'm good at this and I'm going to get paid for it, you're ignoring the other two. Or you may love something and you're good at it, then you ignore the third one or the fourth one. And whenever you ignore one, there has to be the other side. The yin and yang exist in all parts of our life, right? The fear and love, all of that. There's always an opposite. And so we want to try and create a balance so that we're not focusing on the opposite, but we're focusing on what we need. So then I'm going to expand this diagram for you a bit. All right. Give me 1 second here. My screen's a little slow. All right. So this becomes a little more complicated diagram, right? So on the left over here, we see we still have what we're good at. On the top in the pink, we see what we love. On the green side, we see what the world needs. And then in the yellow is what we paid for. Now, if we focus on what we're good at and what we love, we find our passion. But what we lack then is the satisfaction, because we're not feeling positive about impacting the world. If we focus on what we love and what the world needs, we may have our mission, but then we do not have that fulfillment, unfortunately, without pay, right? So yes, we may want to go and do our voluntary work in third world countries, but they may not give us our pay. So then we can't live the lifestyle that we sort of desire, right? If we give what the world needs and we get what we paid for, we get our vocation, but then that excitement and feeling of uncertainty sort of falls in. So we want to try and avoid those gaps. So it is important that we do all of this. We find our passion, our mission, our vocation, and our profession, in addition to being good at what we do, loving what we do, giving back to the community or the world, and making sure that we get paid for. And when that happens, when you have your Ikigai, you end up being in flow, right? We talk about athletes. Why is it that some days they perform well and then some days they don't? How is it that some days we have a very good day, we seem to be in flow, we're intuitive, we're sort of aligned with the universal energy, we seem like we just accomplish so much more in a shorter period of time, and the other times we struggle. Because when one of these things that we want is out of alignment, then we're not in flow. And so when we're in flow, that's when you are in that creative zone. And flow can be said to occur when you're consistently doing something you love, something that you're good at, something with the possible benefit to help others. And in that case, you tune into your Ikigai. Now, why is this important, you ask? Right? So if you recall, we talked about 4 main concepts over the last 5 days, right? The first was energy, right? Energy is everything. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. And what you put out there is what you will attract. And so if you bring that concept of energy into Ikigai, right? If you're doing something, you may be good at it, the world needs it, you get paid for it, but you start doing it out of fear, or you do it out of anger, or you're doing it out of resentment, then you don't have your Ikigai. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Right? So that's really, really important. And that's why your energy, the level at which your frequency is at, is so important, right? The second thing we talked about is service, right? Doing it so that service comes before success, because success is bound to come when you provide service. So if you're good at something, you're getting paid for it, you love doing what you're doing, but you're not making a difference to the world, then you're not in service. And remember, the world is not necessarily global world. It could be the place where you're working. It could be the community that you're in. It's the voluntary service that you're doing. If you're going to work with resentment and you're getting paid for it and you're good at it and what you love, then there is going to be that uncertainty, that feeling of excitement is there, but the feeling of uncertainty actually overpowers it. Right? The next is love. We talked about it, right? So we that is clearly identified in Ikigai. You need to be in doing everything out of love, because when you start not doing it out of love and you're doing it out of fear, then you will not continue being good at what you are. You may get stuck of how much you get paid for it, and then we start complaining, and then we stop doing things for the community. And so that's really important. And we then define success, right? And success means all of these are in place together so that we have our Ikigai, right? Really, question is, what is your reason for getting out of bed in the morning? Right? Can you find your passion, your mission, your vocation, and your profession so that you have your Ikigai? And Ikigai is about finding joy. It's finding fulfillment. It's finding balance in the daily routine of our life. It's too easy to fall victim of saying that our jobs, our family, our passions and desires are actually independent. Because according to Ikigai, they're not. They're created out of an intersection of everything. If I'm really good out when I'm with people outside, and I don't show love to my family when I come home, there is a disconnect. If I'm happy to help anybody that's going to give me prime dollars, but if I see somebody who's suffering and I don't do anything, then I don't have my Ikigai. So what is your Ikigai? Really, really important. I want to share a story with you. As you know, I love ending with stories, right? So this story is going to ask you, what is your Ikigai, right? Sorry, right there. So in a small village outside of Osaka, a woman was in coma. She was literally dying. She suddenly had a feeling that she was taken up to heaven, and she stood before the voice of her ancestors. And the question they asked her is, who are you? The voice says, who are you? And that was an easy answer for her. So she goes, I am the wife of the mayor. And the voice came back, that is not what I'm asking. So the woman responds again, I'm the mother of 4 children. And the voice comes back, I did not ask whose mother you are, but who are you? I'm a school teacher. I did not ask you what your profession is. I asked you who you are. And so it went. No matter what she replied, she did not seem to be able to give a satisfactory answer to the simple question of who you are. So she said she maybe take a spiritual path to it. And she goes, I am a Shinto. And the answer comes back and says, I did not ask you for your religion, but who you are. And so the lady goes, I am the one who wakes up each morning to take care of my family and nurture the young minds of the children that are at my school. At that point, she had passed the examination and she went back to earth. The next morning, she woke up at sunrise, feeling a deep sense of meaning and purpose. She tended to her children's lunches and planned fun lessons for the students all day. The lady had found her Ikigai. So I ask you for your lesson, for your answers today. What is your Ikigai? Post it in the Facebook group, post it in any other mediums that we connect with. I would love to find out what your Ikigai is. I do help you find your Ikigai if you want to work on that. Let's get together and see how we can work on that as well. I hope this helped understand this concept of Ikigai. If you can just remember that if you have a purpose to wake up in the morning, you'll wake up with a smile, as this lady did, because she knew exactly what her purpose was. That brings us almost to the end. I thank you again for joining. Next week is exciting because we're going to start reframing some of the words that we're used to. We are so competitive in getting back to where we want to. We may have our passion, but then we get into a competitive mode. I'm going to invite you to an out creation mode as opposed to a competitive mode. That's what we talk about tomorrow at 12 and for the next 2 weeks. Spread the word. The Facebook group has all the sessions recorded in there. At any point, please welcome your friends. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, Nasreen.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Jen. Hey. All right. Stop live.